So the first fragrance on this list, gents, I'm betting that 99% of you guys have never heard of it. It was released a few years ago and since then has flown under the radar to most reviewers. Let me tell you, if you're into earthy, sweet fragrances, this thing is a friggin' masterpiece. Now, based off the iconic cap, I bet some of you guys have successfully guessed this fragrance is from the house of Xerjoff. But for those of you guys still trying to figure out, let me give you a few more clues. The main accords here are going to be warm spice, woods, sweetness, vanilla, rum, patchouli, amber, caramel, cinnamon, and a balsamic smell. I would classify it as a cool weather fragrance, and it's got great longevity and projection. Sexy, addictive, it also has some unique notes, in particular passion fruit, bergamot, and rum at the top, Bulgarian rose, leather, cinnamon in the middle, and a base of caramel, vanilla, tonka bean, sandalwood, and labdanum with a touch of ambergris and musk. And there's one particular note that really stands out, gives it a feel of the 1970s, and that is patchouli. All right, gents, my final clue, it was made in collaboration with a heavy metal god. Gents, the fragrance I'm talking about is Xerjoff's Tony Iommi Monkey Special. A beautiful gourmand, this fragrance belongs on a man who's wearing a leather jacket and who's confident in who he is. Now for the next fragrance on this list, I wanted to go with something that's more of a crowd pleaser, something that you could wear when you get dressed up. And of course, Chanel's Bleu de Chanel could have been on this list, but no, I wanted to highlight a Chanel that doesn't get as much attention, but still, 10 years after its release, it is a no-brainer go-to fragrance whether you're going to the gym or whether you're throwing on a jacket and heading into a business meeting. Gents, the fragrance I'm talking about is Allure's Homme Sport Eau Extreme. This is a 4-season fragrance you can wear anytime. When you look at the accords, you're going to see aromatic woods, a fresh spice, citrus, green, a touch of vanilla, sweetness, and musk. And when you look at the notes, you see why this fragrance is so loved and so easy to wear. Right there at the top, that mandarin orange with the mint, a bit of cypress and sage, with a bit of pepper right there in the middle, and at the base, the musk, sandalwood, cedar, and tonka bean. If I had to recommend one fragrance for a guy that really isn't into fragrances, Chanel's Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme would be right there at the top. Now, if you think that pick was boring, this next one is probably going to make you gag. Because yeah, if I'm talking about the top 10 fragrances for men, you bet Creed Aventus has a place on that list. Released in 2010, this fragrance has established itself, at least in the minds of many men, as the GOAT. And why? Because it's easy to wear, it gets compliments, and it's been described by some guys as the holy unique fragrance that mesmerizes. And I'll be straight up, gents, this fragrance has gotten me compliments multiple times. Now the accords here that describe the fragrance, fruity, sweet, with woods, leather, smoke, citrus, a bit of musk, tropical fresh with a bit of a mossy smell. Yeah, for a lot of guys, there's just something magical about it. That being said, if you're looking to an alternative for those last two, check out Raja Dove's Elysium. To me, it fits in the same category as those last two. You can wear it in any season for any occasion, but this one's a bit more unique, I think distinctive. It's got a nice, strong citrus top with a warm vanilla base. And that's played out in the notes. As you can see, it's a relatively complex fragrance, quite a lot going on in this one. And as far as wow factor and uniqueness go, I have to say that I rank Elysium higher than either Aventus or Eau Extreme. Perhaps the only issue I've got with this fragrance is I don't seem to get as many compliments. It's probably because it's a little bit lighter. You have to spray a little bit more for it to project. Now, gents, I'm not even halfway through my list. And if you were to go buy all the fragrances I talked about and all the fragrances I'm about to talk about, you would be out thousands of dollars. So what if I were to tell you can get amazing fragrances inspired by these for pennies on the dollar? Well, gents, you don't have to imagine it because today's sponsor has gone out and done it. And gents, straight up, when it comes to things like this, I'm usually pretty skeptical. They sent me tons of samples and I have been testing these. I've been wearing these and I have to say that these are some of the best inspired by fragrances I have ever tried. Yeah, this one right here, Poseidon's Elixir 13ZZ. This one is inspired by one of Creed Aventus's most legendary batches, the 13ZZ01. These guys did an amazing job, first up with the fragrance, but I have to say that the atomizer, the sprayer, is really, really nice on these bottles. And for you guys, the reason I love the Duo brand, you guys get quality fragrances at a fraction of the cost. I was shocked that they had a fragrance inspired by Tony Iommi's Monkey Special. You've got Creed's Virgin Island Water. I love it, especially whenever I miss the tropics. Right here, Caribbean waters for pennies on the dollar. And the best part, gents, they smell identical. Yes, they're supposed to be inspired by it, but I could not tell the difference. So you like Elysium? Check out their version. It's called Supernova. You like Chanel's Allure Homme Sport? Check out their variation called His Aspiration Extreme Sport Edition. You guys have heard me talk about Kilian's Black Phantom. Well, guess what? The Duo brand has their own version called Black Widow. And the Duo brand, they've got some really interesting names. Parfums de Marly, they just call this Leighton. They call their version Royal Chariot Attar. So yeah, of course you got Oud Wood, which their fragrance is called Bois Oud. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention their hybrids. Seriously, have you ever wondered what Dior Sauvage garage would smell like if it had babies with Creta Ventus? Well, you don't have to imagine. They've actually got a hybrid called Savage Poseidon. They've got this other one called Azura Supernova, which takes Acqua di Gio's Profondo, mixes it with Creed and Elysium, and throws in some extra ISO E Super. Yeah, I have to say, I love what these guys are doing, so go check them out. Use that link. Go look at all the options you got over at the Duo brand, but take advantage of that deal. It's not going to be around forever. So, as I said earlier, I'm going to be throwing another Gourmand on this list because I just love them at this time of the year. Now, the house I'm talking about right here, Kilian, specializes in gourmands, and Black Phantom is definitely one of my favorites with that chocolate, with the rum, with the caramel notes, but it's very similar, except for the patchouli, to the first fragrance I had on this list. And instead, I'm going to talk about two of the most wearable fragrances that I think have their alcoholic, their angel ship right here, and this one, Apple Brandy, as the name implies. Yes, these fragrances, if you are wearing them when you're out driving, you got to be careful, because if you get pulled over, the officer is definitely going to ask you if you have been drinking. That being said, as a guy that doesn't drink anymore, man, every time I put this on or I smell it, I start to salivate. It is just a beautiful fragrance, tasty, delicious, and you can wear it and not get drunk. Yeah, this is the closest I get to alcohol. Now, this next fragrance is relatively new. You can find it in most box stores, Sephora's, or Ulta's, in case you want to get your nose on it before buying. And I would recommend doing that because it's not going to be for everyone, but I love it because it's got a unique scent combination of citrus with coffee. Gents, the fragrance I'm talking about is Valentino Umo's Born in Roma Green Stravaganza. Now, for a fragrance with an embarrassingly long name, it's got a relatively simple note profile. At the top, we see Calabria and bergamot, in the middle, coffee, and at the base, vetiver. But don't let that fool you. This is a complicated aromatic. It's that coffee and citrus mix in there. I think in general, it's a linear fragrance, and I love it for that reason. This thing is just easy to wear. It's unique, it's fun, and it's got relatively good longevity. And on a side note, today's sponsor, the Duo brand, actually has their own version of this. I was shocked, and I think it just goes to show how many options they have. And guys, that wasn't planned when I put together this list. If you go watch some of my other fragrance videos from last year, I actually had this one on a list when it first came out because I absolutely love it. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Now, what about something bright? What about something fresh? So this fragrance almost made the list. And you know, this Versace Eros Energy, I think, is a great pick. If you're in a box store, you get your nose on it and you like it, then go ahead and grab a bottle. It's relatively easy to find and is one of my favorite releases of last year. But there are two fragrances that easily beat it out, in my opinion, because of longevity and just simply overall quality, ingredients, and beauty. Now, the fragrances I'm talking about are Mebesus's A Wondrous Flight and Passion Island. So with A Wondrous Flight, the accord that dominates here is going to be by far the citrus. And we see that in the top note breakout with the grapefruit, bergamot, lemon, and mandarin orange. In the middle, it brings in ginger, pink pepper, jasmine, and iris. At the base, musk, moss, vetiver, amber, leather, and a bit of patchouli. It's a little bit spicy in the dry down. You get a bit of aromatic in the earth, but overall, this one's going to be dominated by those top citrus notes. And gents, if I had made this list just 3 months ago, this one would have been on the list. But if I had to choose one, guys, I would go with Passion Island. Maybe because it's new, but this one right here, when it comes to fruity, when it comes to sweetness, when it comes to passion, this one is just amazing and very unique. Now at the top, we're going to see pink pepper, ginger, lime, lemon, and bergamot. In the middle, mango, passion fruit, nectarine, pineapple, and black currant. And at the base, amber, sandalwood, patchouli, vanilla, cedarwood, and musk. Now I'm not sure about all those top notes, but that middle set of notes, that dominates this fragrance. And that's why I absolutely love it. That nectarine, pineapple, mango, passion fruit mix. To me, this smells like one of those fruit punches. When you come out of the sun, you're hot, you're thirsty, and your friend from Hawaii has made a punch that is just perfect, just hits the spot as soon as you pick it up. It's cold, it's fruity, and just as you bring it to your lips, this is that fragrance. But I get it, not a fragrance for everybody, probably going to be too sweet for some of you guys. So then what is the perfect everyday fragrance? One that you could actually wear to work, you wouldn't overpower anyone, you would occasionally get compliments, it could even be your signature scent that isn't on the radar of most guys. Well, for this pick, let's go over to the house of Hermes. So I have to say that I absolutely love, not the Parfum or the Hermes, you know, those greener versions. No, with the original EDT. There was a really unique metallic note that actually reminded me of the gun range, and I just absolutely love this, but for some of you guys, maybe that's not great for work. So in that case, I recommend going with the classic Hermes's Terre de Mes. Now this fragrance is probably one of the older ones on the list. It's coming in on 20 years it's been out, but I'll tell you, this thing is not aged a day. It's still a classic. When you look at the note profile, at the top you've got orange, you got grapefruit, the middle notes, pepper, pelargonium, and flint, and then at the base, vetiver, cedar, patchouli, and benzoin. It's kind of got an interesting composition there. You don't normally see flint in a fragrance. Well, I'm here to tell you that that note doesn't stand out because it's blended perfectly. This was considered a masterpiece fragrance within a year of it coming out because it not only revived the fragrance house over at Hermes, but it really established a perfumer who put it together. Jean-Claude Elena is one of the top perfumers in the world, and this fragrance continues to deliver. Yeah, it's got some weirdness to it, like some people smell a little bit of a rotten orange, but I'll tell you that it smells amazing. Don't knock this fragrance until you try it. This could easily be your signature scent. You can wear it in any situation, and it's one of those sleeper scents. A lot of guys, they don't know why, but women just are drawn in. They give you compliments. A lot of you guys are like, Antonio, man, you're giving away my go-to fragrance. Sorry, guys. For the younger guys out there, yeah, pick this thing up. Don't sleep on it. Amazing. And speaking of classics, let's go to the house of Dior. So right here, we have Eau Sauvage. Not to be confused with Sauvage, all the new ones, the Johnny Depp stuff that has, yeah, that's the fragrances that most people know the house of Dior for. But if you go back, you know your history, you know it started off with Eau Sauvage. This was the fragrance, or at least the EDT was the go-to fragrance for Alain Delon. Now this new version, the Parfum, released in 2017, I think is a really nice modern interpretation. And if we go into the notes, we look at the top, the citron, the bergamot, the lavender, in the middle, the Haitian vetiver, and the base, Elamai, what we get is a signature-worthy, elegant fragrance. If you're wearing a suit, if you're wearing a sports jacket, if you're dressing up, if you want a buttoned-up, classic, masculine fragrance that's something your grandfather would have loved, something that you can still wear today and stand out from all the other guys wearing those sweet blue, yeah, modern fragrances. This one right here is old school, but it still feels a bit modern. And speaking of unique aromatics, check out this one. This is Red Colorado by M. Micallef. Now, if you're looking for a green woodsy fragrance, you don't need to go any farther. This fragrance reminds me of being at the Red Rocks in Colorado. I was just there this last summer with my wife and went and saw a Kaleo concert. That's her favorite band from Iceland. And for me, this was the fragrance. The smell with those pine trees, with the wood, with a bit of earth. Now, I know this fragrance isn't going to be for everybody, but you know what? I wanted to encourage you as you're putting together your list to find a fragrance that has meaning to you, that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. You wear this one because it reminds you of places you've been, of places you're going to go. So if you've got a fragrance like that, let me know in the comments. I want to hear, especially if it's something that most people don't even know about. Now, this next one's going to be a little bit controversial. It is not going to be Ombre Leather Parfum. This one almost made the list. Absolutely love it. Very well crafted, beautiful fragrance from Tom Ford. No, I'd have to say this leather fragrance has grown on me a bit as I've worn it more and more. In fact, maybe because it's got a good mix of pepper and it's not overpowering, and maybe that's why I like it so much. It's got top notes of black pepper and nutmeg, in the middle cinnamon and frankincense, and at the base black leather and tobacco. Yeah, fresh, warm, spicy tobacco cinnamon. You can even see the leather takes a back seat. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put Dark Leather by Viktor & Rolf Spice Bomb on this list. Yeah, I know this pick may be a little bit controversial. A lot of people say it doesn't last long. Well, just spray more. But seriously, I like it. It reminds me of Bulgari's Man in Black, but with a little bit, actually a lot more punch. All right, Jen, so what video to watch next? Well, come on. How to make your fragrance last all day. This is how you spray on a fragrance. I got you covered because yes, it's not, it's not easy. No, it should be easy, but why do so many guys mess it up? Guys, I got you covered. I show you exactly to do it correctly.